The Illuminati Card Game is a role-playing game created in 1982 by Stephen Jackson. The game explains that while playing, you take on the role of the shadowy puppet masters who supposedly make up the ruling elite of the Illuminati. But since then, conspiracy theorists have speculated that this game is more than just a game, and Stephen Jackson actually had insider knowledge on the heinous plot by the government to implement a new world order. Some of the most seemingly prophetic cards in the game include these two, which all too clearly illustrate the devastating events of the 9/11 terrorist attack, an event that has been time and time again exposed as what may have been a planned event, a quote-unquote inside job. On these cards, you see the destruction of the Twin Towers as well as the impossibly predicted bombing of the Pentagon, with a large plume of smoke coming out of it, which is something that really matches the news footage at the time. This short documentary will compile all of the events that have been accurately predicted by this game, because new events mirror the cards every year. You might remember the most recent terrorist attack in Las Vegas, which occurred at a Jason Aldean concert. Only around a year before the concert, Jason got a new tattoo on his arm of the Jack and the Ace of Spades. Now let's look at the Las Vegas Illuminati card. This terrorist attack was in Las Vegas at a Jason Aldean concert, so that makes 3 cards in the deck that made correct predictions about the terrorist-related events. Another speculation about the card game has been made about this card, which reads, "And stay dead." Last year, there was a lot of publicity in the media about the death of Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks. The card here depicts a man with white hair, long white hair in fact, something Julian Assange is known for, with the headline reading, "And stay dead." Julian Assange is actually very much alive today and is active in current political affairs. A few political characters in the game include Hillary Clinton and what seems to be Barack Obama. Barack Obama is extremely well known for his stance on gun control and has actually been accused of staging false flag gun shootings in order to get more people in favor of gun control, an example being the conspiracy that the Sandy Hook parents are actually crisis actors.
And make a statement. Looks like the family is there and they're getting ready to come to the microphone, so we'll listen up.
Okay. So my name's Robbie Parker. My family is one of the families that lost a child yesterday in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shootings here in Connecticut. I've been contacted by so many people and agencies wanting to know how we're doing, and I just thought that this might be the best way to share those feelings with everybody. First of all, I'd really like to offer our deepest condolences to all the families who were directly affected by this shooting. It's a horrific tragedy, and we want everybody to know that our hearts...
I have personally been researching this topic, and I have seen videos that illustrate this completely wiped from the internet, which leads me to suspicion. An example being a woman who was on a talk show and clearly says she got a text about the shooting and then saying in the same breath that she hung up the phone. It was hilarious, and I'm not making this up. I've been looking, but the video has been taken down from YouTube, and I know that because I had it on a playlist, and since then those videos have been deleted. If I can find it, I'll leave a link in the description. But it's just interesting since we see on this gun control card the obvious contrast between skin tones, that a black man will take away the guns. That was one of Obama's biggest campaigns as president, the only black president.
Now have a look at this card. A lot of people say this predicts Barack Obama. That is the backlash that was created. Remember, Barack Obama rose to power with an enormous amount of support, but that support left him the moment Donald Trump started to rise. That is, at the end of his candidacy, he asked his supporters to support Hillary Clinton and not Donald Trump, but in fact they didn't listen to him and actually ended up supporting Donald Trump. Which brings us to Donald Trump. Guys, have a look at this card and have a close look. A number of people say that this card, among others, predict the rise of Donald Trump. In fact, one of the cards itself is called the Teflon Man, which is a reference that the media actually used to Donald Trump. That is, no matter what was thrown at him, he actually still rose out without any dirt on him. At least that affected him in the actual poll. Also note this card here in particular. A number of researchers have said this looks frighteningly like Donald Trump. That is, that the people themselves have just had enough. Anyway, guys, do you see a connection there? I guess at the end of the day, you have to decide for yourself, which brings us to number 2. And this one is really weird, because the card depicts what's known as the Flat Earth movement, but you have to remember in the early 90s, there was no flat.
Next is the media blitz. Prior to 1982, we have seen nothing even remotely close to the unprecedented amount of Illuminati triangles pretty much in every media outlet that exists. What this is, most people don't know. Right now, I just want to point out this game has predicted a media blitz of triangles that we are only seeing now, and we're seeing it everywhere. Something you would have never seen in the 80s. And you just see by looking at all the cards in the game, you get them in the right order, and it really does tell a story of our real world and what's happening. Yeah, don't listen to any TV preachers. Bank merging. You're seeing a bunch of smaller banks having to merge with larger banks, and all the banks are heavily controlled by the Federal Reserve anyways. It's no secret that the Rockefeller family and the Rothschilds really just want to dominate every source of finance in the world.
You rolling? What happened on 9/11 is a phony, and we've never learned the truth about 9/11. The whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips. And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib. Create a one-world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, and they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything.
you sell.
Everything is in there, And so they want a one-world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions. And we used to talk and share ideas and thoughts. And he's the one who told me 11 months before 9/11 ever happened that there was going to be an event. Never told him what the event was going to be. But there was going to be an event. And out of that event, we were going to invade Afghanistan to run pipelines from the Caspian Sea. We were going to invade Iraq, to take over the oil fields, establish a base in the Middle East, and make it all part of the New World Order. And we'd go after Chavez in Venezuela. And sure enough, later, 9/11 happened. And I remember he was telling me how you're going to see soldiers looking in caves for people in Afghanistan and Pakistan and all these places. And there's going to be this war on terror, which is no real enemy. And the whole thing is a giant hoax, but it's a way for the government to take over the American people.
He told you it was going to be a hoax.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And lastly, I want to talk about the weather cards. These cards suggest that the Illuminati creates hurricanes and storms as a tool for implementing the New World Order, which is also joked about in American Dad that the CIA created the hurricanes, an episode that was released on Netflix while the hurricanes were destroying the US this year.
Thanks to us.
What do you mean, thanks to you? We did all of this. Francine got you on the air, and I abused my CIA powers to make that superstorm.
You made this storm? Lives were destroyed.
But Greg's life was fixed.
Michio Kaku and every scientist will also tell you that it's entirely possible and not such a crazy belief that something like this would happen. People lose their homes and they're forced into FEMA camps. Definitely easier to get them to give up their guns. People are very vulnerable in these types of situations and would most certainly be more likely to accepting a new world order. So what's next? Well, we're on the cusp of a World War III right now, and that which appears to be the atomic bomb depicted on this card. After the war, who knows? We might need some foreign aid. Computer security. This is what they're gonna do. This is it.
The world we are in is becoming more and more digital. We need new means to ensure this world is safe. Biometrics are key to that new digital world.
The biometric recognition market utilizing fingerprints, veins, irises, and facial features is evolving rapidly. Your face is your access card at this security firm.
And then there's the whole issue of biometrics, which has such promise to it.
Okay, now put the fingers of your right hand.
This is a revolution.
I want to enroll my 3-year-old daughter in school. They told me I can't do it without my Aadhaar card, so I desperately need it.
The government has now made Aadhaar mandatory for availing subsidies on food and fuel, for opening bank accounts, and for getting a mobile phone connection.
They want you to give up any morsel of freedom you have left at that point whenever they implement this, in the name of security. They're working on this. Some people are even giddy and excited about this. People just want to live forever. Do you really want to live forever? Because to me, that sounds horrifying. In 1990, the offices of SJ Games were raided by the American Secret Service, who took documents and hard drives, some of which contained information on the Illuminati game. Those who believe in this conspiracy will tell you that the Secret Services struck because they knew Steve Jackson and his crew were going to slyly reveal the Illuminati's plan of action through this card game. While this does tie in nicely with the cloak and daggers aspect of the theory, the offices were actually raided because SJ Games was employing a hacker named Lloyd Blankenship, better known as the Mentor. Vice News managed to speak with Blankenship about the raid. He said, SJ Games got raided because they knew he was a system operator there, and the Secret Services couldn't believe that he wasn't using the SJ Games BBS as a hacker board as well. The Secret Services assumed they'd swoop in with a weak warrant and find so much incriminating evidence that he'd be forced to accept a plea bargain. Unfortunately for them, he had nothing incriminating at SJ Games. They also got in touch with Dan Smith, the main card illustrator, who told them, unknown to most, and I say this with a degree of apprehension, speaking out now that the events are in the past, Steve dabbled in reprehensible, unclean practices to obtain his card ideas. I wouldn't say a golden dawn level of cult mastery, but there were times I would get messages from people I didn't know. Steve often kidded that he was a Nostradamus, second cousin, grandnephew. Now I wonder.